Hello everyone and welcome back to Dialogues about the Future, the series of the interviews edited by Entropia Association for Teatro del Combattente in Collevecchio in Italy. Our special guest today is Chintan Pandya, a wonderful person, first of all, an actor, a performer, a director, and the founder of the Fanatika Theatre Company. Thank you, Chintan. Thank you so much to being here with us today. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Namaste, everyone, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me.
It's a huge honor. And today we would like to speak a little bit about innovation and tradition, the conflict between those two concepts. And first of all, I would like to start from the image that we have all in Europe. Of course, I speak about our perspective of the image we have of India. India seen as the place full of colors, full of people who are dancing and singing and smiling a lot. And of course, this vision is created mainly by the film industry, by Bollywood films.
Yes.
But I would like to ask you, how much of this is true, it's really happening on the streets, and how much it's influencing your way of creating theater?
I think it is pretty true. India is full of a lot of colors, flavors, fragrances, and because India cannot be just one single identity. India is a huge country with a very, very rich cultural diversity because it's like Europe, Europe is one big continent with a lot of small and big countries. They have a common European culture, and at the same time, each country has its own language, its own culture, its own history, and other things. Likewise, in India, it's a huge country with a lot of states. Each state in India has its own language, its own cuisine, its own festivals, culture, history, and other things. So yes, it's an extremely culturally diverse country, and we are actually full of colors and music and instruments and dances and festivals all the time. If you see, there's always one festival running in India in one part of India. There's nothing like not happening anything at all at any given time. And for us, celebration is a continuous part of our life, whatever it is. Dance and music is inseparable from our lives. So whatever happens, even the smallest occasion, people would start playing music and dancing, singing. And so Bollywood, in a way, might sound a bit of ole ole sometimes, but it really captures the very spirit of the Indian people in general.
And do you see any kind of relation between the ancient traditions, Indian ancient traditions, maybe religious one, that influences the way of creating art?
Yes, actually, certainly, because um, if you see, the art forms actually flourished from the religious places, especially talking about the performing arts. It has been a contrast journey, unlike in Europe, where it became from a very popular way of performances, like in Greece, the entire city would go on a mountain or a hilly structure, and from there the entire amphitheater structure came out for the performances. In India, it was actually more reserved within the temples, and it was reserved for the gods, all the priests. And then from this very um, holy structures, the sanctum sanctorium of the temples, where dancers and singers and musicians would be offering their art to the gods in their worship. It then slowly became more popular. So from the temple, it went outside to the courts of the kings or the noble people, and from there it went out further in the society and then out in the marketplace. So it was an extremely reserved, exclusive or elitist culture in the beginning, from where it went to the popular culture. So the journey has been other way around, and that is why there is a huge influence of the religion or different religious faiths in India on the performances. People even till date They have different gods and goddesses for the performance also, and they worship them before performances. They have some festivals also wherein they will perform, especially in the honor or in the worship of that god. So the kinds of music we have, the kinds of dances we have, they have carried a certain influence from the various religious faiths in India, not only Hinduism but other faiths also.
Mm-hmm. And do you see any space in this kind of very, very fixed structures that are from the very ancient traditions? They are coming into our days. Do you see any space of the innovation, any space of introduction of other cultures in your culture, in your ways of creating theater?
Yes, certainly, because it's not only now, but it has always been like that. There is a great room for improvisation. Different masters of different era have always invented new techniques or have added different elements into these practices, whether it is the instruments or even the style of music. Because India has always had visitors and invaders, so it has been influenced. Whether it was with the arrival of the people from the Middle East, whether it is from Persia or Turkey or the Mughals, or people from far Southeast Asia, or people from Africa, and then later on Europeans also. There has been influences, cultural influences, that have also impacted the artistic practice and the way the arts have evolved in India. And then it becomes Indian. It's like English language, they have been everywhere in the world. So they pick up words from different parts of the world, and then they become part of the English language. So sometimes we speak
Mm-hmm.
the word as if it's English, but we just don't know that the origin is from somewhere else. Likewise, in India also, there are practices which are so rich, and they are rich because of the artistic and cultural marriages between different regions of the world. And then, of course, there has been an Indianizing process of it, wherein it appears to be very Indian, but it may not originally be so Indian at all. So I think there has always been such room for improvisation, and even in contemporary time, there are a lot of artists who do traditional dances or music or even theater who are tired of some structures. I mean, for the training, it's very important. So
Mm-hmm.
you go through a thorough process, you understand the form, the way that form allows you to express. Uh, but once you have mastered that thing, you can always have room based on your intellectual and creative capacities. How do you want to explore it? How do you want the world to get exposed to that form in a different way? How do you want to reinterpret certain things instead of keep telling the same stories or keep dancing or singing or performing theater in the same way? How can you keep our lifetime touch to it? Like it has been performed in such a way because that is how people used to live centuries ago, but they don't live in the same way. The language they speak is not the same. So there is a huge scope of improvisation here, and I'm very happy to share that there are a lot of people like me who do a lot of experiments with it and who have succeeded in creating new expressions by blending the Occidental or the Western influence with the Indian theme. There are very regularly some fusions also happening, wherein two people come with two different cultural packages and then they try to do something which is completely new but creatively very appealing. And there are people who have even developed new methods and new techniques which they are formalizing in a way that it becomes a school in itself. So
Mm-hmm.
that is one case with my theatre company, where my trainings have been both in Europe and in India. And I have been formally trained with a lot of techniques, whether folk techniques or classical techniques. And because I have received great exposures from these two different parts of the world, my own way of practicing is always very interdisciplinary, and I try to connect the dots all the time, which is where I see that there is a great room for improvisation and bringing in new elements into our practices. So I hope I answered your question, but to be honest, yes, there is a great room for it.
Yes, yes. In fact, it's I would like to ask you about the differences between the Oriental and Occidental theater, but after all you said, I can see that for you personally and for your experience, it's all mixed as you travel a lot with your company, as you can meet all the different kinds of making theater. And this is why it's so beautiful to make theater and to be different, but to meet all together and to see how we can influence each other and to create something new. And
Yes.
can you tell me a little bit about your way of teaching? Because I believe your company is structured a little bit as a small academy. Like you are all experimenting, all creating something new, but you are the teacher, you are the master. So if
Yes.
you can tell me just a little bit what is your approach to this kind of being a director, to this kind of going forward with your group?
Hmm. So first of all, my approach is very interdisciplinary. It's when people come to train with us, it's in the beginning, even if they want to become an actor or writer or director, we don't focus only on that. I think it's a golden triangle: acting, writing, and direction. And even if you want to practice only one of these three professions, the knowledge and the understanding of the other two professions is so important for you to have that it will help you enhance your own quality as whichever profession you select to work on. So at our place, it's very interdisciplinary. Also, the way we practice theater, there is other artistic expressions that we learn. There is music also, there's dance also, there is visual arts also. A lot of historical references also come into it. Semiotics is something that we put a great emphasis on. We also study semiotics very seriously, and how we use different symbols and this entire science of symbols within our own dramatic practices. And then, of course, there is two different ways of approaching the entire learning process, which comes from both the Western countries, with the great masters of the recent centuries, the last 2 centuries, and also the great scholars from India who developed different styles of performances, whether from the classical theatre or the folk theatre. The journey is also to engage the youth with their own roots, to rediscover their own culture, their own language, and how they have evolved. But at the same time, expose them to the rest of the world so that they don't remain within their own little corner and not know what is happening outside. So this way, our trainings are extremely interdisciplinary, intercultural also. Um, we pay a lot of attention to the text and literature at the same time, because a lot of times people focus only on the physical performances and use the body as the tool or medium to express. Their body is their language, which is good for an actor. But the human civilization has also had a very, very rich heritage of the languages across the world, and which has been a beautiful medium to communicate, whether through poetry or novels or plays or just different expressions from different parts of the world. And how to express through voice, how to express through words, and how to have a command over the language, wherein you see each and every word more like an atom, and every word has different levels of energy, and you know how to explode or create small little blasts here and there, and uh, to to transmit that energy to the audiences that you are working for. There is also this sonic impact that on which we work a lot. That what could It's not only the visual presentation, but also how the sound of whatever you say can create kind of an impact on the audiences. So yeah, these are some of the primary aspects that we focus on, and then of course it's a rigorous process. But from the very beginning, we involve the actors or writers or directors on the hands-on practice. So even if they are not professionals, or we start working with them in such a way wherein they have to immediately exposed to the outer world, to the field, and to know how what works and what doesn't work. Uh, Saying within the four walls for 2, 3, 7 years, and just keep working on the techniques. So a lot of times practical knowledge, hands-on knowledge is also very, very important. We take them on tour, we take them to different parts of India, but we also take them abroad as and when possible, and see how people practice across the world this form of art in a different way.
All you say it's very beautiful, but it's also related to the physical contact. And right now, it's like the base of the theater for us, for you, for all of us. And
Yeah.
right now, I think how you can proceed and what direction the theater in India, but in general, will go on, how will go on in those times in which the physical contact between human beings, it became a danger. It became something that it's forbidden. And I'm asking you, as a master, what do you think we can do in those times of these restrictions to go on within those ideas, but without the contact, without putting ourselves in the danger? What we can do?
Well, there's a lot of things that we could do, and I'm extremely optimistic about it. I really, really have always been very optimistic about theatre performances, no matter what the struggle or difficulties I have come across. Unlike Europe, I think we in India feel, I mean, at least I don't know about my other comrades from the industry, but at least I feel that the time of challenge is not something new. It has always been very challenging because we don't have so many grants in India, first of all. The way European countries or even European Union is providing grants to different people, whether to study or to do shows or to run a theatre company or pay salaries to the artist, we don't have it in India. And even if there was one, I can't imagine how will they be able to distribute it to this huge population that is there. Can you imagine the number of artists that there are in India? It's practically impossible. So it is always a challenge for the Indian artists to survive on their own, especially practicing only and only their art. And Fanatika, we have been doing this thing. We have never received any grants from the government, and I've always found different ways of surviving through good times and bad times. Now, the major challenge, which is new and a little different than so far, is to be together as a company, to have this physical contact, and to also go and perform live in front of the real audiences. Of course, there are different things that we tried. We were invited for a couple of online festivals. We were invited to record our videos of the performances, which they would broadcast on something. And it's not the same thing, I must admit. I realized that, when you are accustomed to doing live performances, it's an exchange of energy also, not only the performance and uttering your dialogues or doing your gestures, but you have a certain relationship with your audience, which is renewed every evening or every afternoon whenever you perform, because it's new people, new way of reacting, and you get their nerve and you change your performance, you improvise in a different way. There is a live contact. They applaud at a certain time, they laugh, they cry. It's an exchange of emotions and energy both together, which those who perform live, they know what it is and how they miss it when we are working through virtual media. That's a call of time, and I still remain optimistic. We have received a lot of proposals from people to do online workshops, and I am afraid I couldn't do that thing because I teach at a couple of universities where I was invited to conduct my classes online. And I did the job, and I tried to do my best justice to those classes, but I still felt the lack of the human warmth and the touch and the way I improvise in my classes also when I'm working live. So I'm missing that thing. And I think this year it's still going to be a little tough because there is vaccine. We don't know whether it's working well or not. And people are still scared to gather into large numbers. Traveling is still not so easy, and there are a lot of restrictions. So we have to be patient. And what I am doing right now is using this time to be with myself, to create a lot of new things in terms of writing and projects. We are working through distance, on some projects where my actors are working from their home, and then they either send me a video, or whenever it is possible to meet 2 or 3 people, we cover a certain distance and we try to give one another a meeting point and discuss for a couple of hours. But I don't have an ideal solution for this thing, except to be patient and use this time in a maximum creative way possible, so that when we come back with a bigger bang and a lot of energy.
Mhm.
I was this morning only telling one of my friends with whom I had gone outside to have a chai, and I was sitting on the backside of his bike in Bombay, busy streets, people everywhere. And I say, people are taking the normal life back. It's just that I am still missing my normal life back, which is to perform in front of those hundreds of spectators every night. And I'm becoming a little desperate about it, but that's the reality, and one has to be careful. So in India, for example, we have started the cinema halls with 100% capacities, but
Mhm.
not the theater yet. I don't see the logic between the two, but yeah, that's how.
But still. So you believe that the innovation intent as a new media, like we can experiment right now, a
Yeah.
new media of contacting each other through online meetings, but also all the cameras, use of the technology, computer technology, can be useful to go forward with the traditional way of thinking, to move on the theater in the traditional way through those technological innovations. Do you think this is possible, this kind of meeting?
Yes, I think it's certainly possible, and I've always been very welcoming and open to new technologies. Why not? Because they are good. See, the best thing is, if this technology was not there, we would have all got bored during 3 months of lockdown. It is this technology that kept us entertaining all the time. OTT platforms that are there. We could watch movies, we could listen to music from across the world, we could have meetings, and at least keep seeing our friends, like the way we are talking right now. You are in Italy, I am in India, and we are able to see one another and talk one another so easily, which was maybe not so much possible 10 years ago.
Of course.
It was, I mean, communicating through mails was a different era. Now communicating live with videos, it's like you're sitting in your room, I'm sitting in my room, and how wonderful. So that's a great part of it, and it has also enlarged the viewership. My performances are not only now limited to the city in which I'm performing, or to the theater in which I'm performing with only 300 or 3000 people. My performance can be seen and watched from across the world, whoever wants to watch it, which is a great thing, because my outreach as an artist has no limits now. I can perform for people in America. Actually, we were commissioned an online performance by a group of Gujaratis living in California, and we created a show for them in the month of September. So it's a fantastic thing, because earlier it was not possible, which means that there are less resources that you spend in terms of traveling expense, or accommodation and food and visa and insurance and all these things, and the artists can perform live through video conferences from wherever they are. The only thing which all of us, it's like, when you started having those digital books, what are they called? I forgot. Kindle. When people started having that thing, a lot of traditionalists people would think that, no, I still like the paper and the touch of it and the smell of it, and I love to have my library around me and all. I'm also that kind of an old-fashioned guy, but it's just, that when you start reading online, you realize that, can you imagine the number of paper we are not using anymore, the number of trees we are saving, and how easily you can access the book just by a click over it. And it's indispensable. You can print parts of it for your references. But otherwise, yeah, it is very helpful, and it is ecological in a way too. My personal feeling is the same for the performances through online, that it's going to create more opportunities, different opportunities. Not, let's not use the word more opportunities, maybe different opportunities for the artists in tough times to continue to survive, to continue to express their artistic knowledge to wherever they want. And when the time comes back, these arts, which are really what we call live forms of arts. In French, there is a word, spectacle vivant, live performances. It's meant for that. So we are never going to completely disconnect from doing that. We will come back to that, because the lockdown has also taught us the value of human relations, human warmth, human presence around you. When you have been confined within your own room, you realize how important it is to talk to someone, to eat dinner with someone, to call people and ask on their health and how they are. And we are all missing that. So I'm not scared. I'm sure the day we are allowed to perform out in the audiences, we will get tired of this social media, because now I have subscription to 7 different OTT platforms, from Netflix to Prime to other things in India, and I can hardly watch. I can hardly spend time there, because the moment I'm free, I'm doing something which will engage me directly in it. And so is the case with a lot of non-artist friends of mine also, because we have had so much of it during a couple of months, that we realize that technology is good, but only up to a certain extent and in a certain amount. It can be a support, but it can't be controlling our lives. It can't be just taking over our lives and tell us how to live or how to do things. So I'm desperate in that sense, that the moment we are allowed to perform, I'm sure the audiences are also turn up in great numbers, because they are also missing it. As much as the artists miss to perform live, the audiences are also missing to see people live in front of them.
Yes, in fact, I believe this is something we all feel, and right now we are full of hope, because 27th of March, the theaters in Italy will be open. So
On the
for
world,
the International Day of Theatre, we will be really celebrating the first meeting with the audience live, not through the online ways and channels. So we are all very, very happy about it, and I hope in India soon it will be possible. And we can be back to this kind of experience, a live experience, but still it's very optimistic and it's very inspirational what you said, and I feel full of the light for the future, and I'm very glad that I could meet you. I thank you so much for this interview, and it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure.
Pleasure is all mine. I hope I could answer your questions well, and I look forward to meeting you again very, very soon.
Very soon, maybe in Italy, maybe in India, or maybe somewhere else. Somewhere else.
Magari. That's what
Magari. Okay, thank you, Chintan. Thank you so much, and we will see back with our public online on the next episodes of Dialogues about the Future. Thank you so much.